Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I hope you're having a great day or night in Jesus. We're on this subject of biology and worldview, and you can check it out on our playlist under Worldview, and I hope you will. And invite your friends, family, church family, subscribe, and leave us a thumbs up, and hit the bell notification when you subscribe. So, I remember when I first really started getting into the Humanist manifestos. There's been 3 of them. I think 1933, 1973, and then there was one for maybe the year 2000. Don't hold me to those dates. And so I remember reading the first one, Thomas Dewey, who had so much to do with our educational system, and how it was like a direct frontal against Christianity. We're not waiting for somebody to save us. Man must save themselves. There's not some external Savior. And so it was considered pretty radical at the time, but the intelligentsia of America really played into it. And then you had the Humanist Manifesto 2, which that was really brought on the scene because Walter Mondale, who ran for president, who was totally obliterated by Ronald Reagan in '84, lost 49 out of 50 states, almost lost his home state of Minnesota, and then he was Jimmy Carter's VP before that. And he also was the first one, I think her name was Geraldine Ferraro, to have a woman as the vice president running. But he was a humanist. And so reading these humanist manifestos, I mean, there's a part of humanism. Let me just say this. There was a time in my life where I had affinity with some of humanism, and what I meant by that is for the helping of the human condition. And I think as Christians, obviously overwhelmingly we're for the salvation of souls, for preparing people to go to heaven, and that with God's blessings and God's help, that this helps people. But in what sense and how much are we to focus our time on helping the temporary human condition, alleviating pain and suffering, water, food, these conditions, knowing that at best it's just for a few years and it's not going to help their eternity. But of course, as Jesus in the Good Samaritan shows us, that we should be concerned with human suffering. And in Matthew 25, at one of the judgments, that, I was sick, and you came to me. I was in prison. I was hungry. You fed me. I was naked. You clothed me. All these things. And so, of course, Paul writes in Galatians, I think it's Galatians 6, somewhere in there, but do good to all men, especially those of the household of faith, but to everybody. And so, we have a food bank at our church, and you don't have to be a Christian to get food from the food bank. We help people that would hate us. We have helped people that would hate our guts, hate what we stand for, and literally hate us. Well, we love them, and we would, with no animus at all, show them love and care. And I think that's being Christian. And Romans 12 talks about some of these things, not necessarily gift of mercy. I'd have to go into Romans 12 and exegete it, which I have. We've got a full commentary here online on YouTube of a journey through Romans, where we start in Romans 1:1 and go through 16, the last verse in chapter 16, whatever that is, 24, 26, wherever it's at, 27, I don't remember. And so we go through that. And so there's certain people that are called to those kind of ministries, and by being salt and light, eventually, the key is we want to see them saved. Your Albert Schweitzer's Christian humanism, and these type things. And so it is a fine line, a fine balance, because you can soothe your conscience but never see somebody's soul saved. Like, you can do good, you can dig wells in Africa, which that's great, and I hope you do, and we need to do that. And so that's the thing we're definitely not Malthusians. And I was reading something recently that Malthus actually changed his philosophy towards the end of his life. We're not the Sanger rights, that the best thing you can do is, what was it? The best thing a large family can do to some of its younger members, kill them or something like that. I forget all that, so don't quote me on all that. But I mean, just horrible philosophies that don't seek to alleviate human suffering. So humanism has an end in itself. And so then you get into almost utilitarianism, like John Stuart Mill and this type of things, that or even the categorical imperative, doing the most good to most people most of the time. Oh, what happens if the 51% say the best thing we could do is kill the 49%, so there's more resources for the 51%? Or that's not good. Or the 1% can say the best thing is to wipe out most of humanity, leave the rest for the 1% because of social Darwinism. We're obviously the superior races and all this. Who was it? Was it Huxley that said, there would be such a divide between the elites and others, it would almost seem like another species and all that. But then how much of that is planned? And we know we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. So we're not going to go down that route, nothing like that, because we believe in being the best citizens that we can and praying for our leaders, 1 Timothy 2, on and on. But this, going back to the humanist manifestos, it's very clear human potential. And see, there's a lot of that in a sense, I don't want to say I'm okay with, because it's all about Jesus, obviously. But, developing yourself for Jesus, being the best you can be for Jesus, on and so forth. But at the end of the day, humanism is a fool's errand, and it turns into almost Satanism. And but it's appealing to many people, because once you cast off God, then it's like eat and drink and be merry, for tomorrow we die. So I want to flesh this out even more and go into Fabian socialism, the Bloomberry set, racism, biological mechanistic creatures and laws of nature, on and so forth. But we'll do that another time. So God bless. Thanks for being here. We'll talk with you later. Bye-bye.